Introduction: The Myth of the Maker. We live in a civilization addicted to traction. From the moment we are born, we are trained under an unshakable dogma. If you want something, you have to go get it. Success is 1% percentile of inspiration and 99th percentile's perspiration. We have built our entire identity on the pedestal of effort. We believe with an almost religious faith that the results we obtain in life are directly proportional to the amount of energy we spend fighting reality. If we lack money, we work more hours. If we lack love, we strive harder to search, swiping screens until our fingertips bleed. If we lack health, we fight disease with military ferocity. We behave like a person trying to push a river to make it flow faster. And when we reach the end of the day, exhausted and empty-handed, we ask the sky, "Why? I have done everything. I have tried harder than anyone." The answer this book offers is harsh. The universe does not answer you because you do not shut up. I don't mean you talk too much with your mouth. I mean your vibrational emission is so noisy and dense that you leave no microsecond of space for the answer to enter. You are so busy doing and trying to fix that you have hung a busy sign on the door of your reality. The universe, respecting your free will, sees the sign and passes by with the gift it brought for you. This book begins with a radical premise. Manifestation is not something you do. Manifestation is something you allow. Until now, you have probably focused on the yang side of the equation, emission. You learned to visualize and decree. That is, vitalit is the act of sowing. But agriculture doesn't end with the seed. If you dig it up daily, you drown the crop. You need the yin side, primordial silence. This silence is not the absence of decibels. You can be in a quiet library but have deafening mental noise. Will he call? I have to pay the bill. I'm a fraud. That is not silence. That is static. It blocks the signal. You can be in a chaotic market and have an inner silence so deep you could hear a pin drop in your soul. Primordial silence is a state of zero frequency. In physics, we know electrical resistance generates heat and energy loss. Mental noise is resistance. It is friction. When you bring your mind to silence, the vacuum of thought, resistance drops to zero. In that moment, you become a superconductor of infinite intelligence. Solutions, healing, and wealth can flow through you without obstacles at the speed of light. The problem is our fear of the void, horror vacui. The ego is designed to do. Its function is to control and predict. When you tell the ego, sit and do nothing, let the universe take over, it panics. It feels it will die. It feels that if it lets go, the car will crash. The ego screams, "You can't just stand there, do something, at least worry." For the ego, worrying is a form of doing. It believes that if it worries enough, it is controlling the outcome. This book is a manual to dismantle that addiction. We will learn the physics of available space. Imagine your life as a cup. If it is full of old coffee, beliefs, worries, rigid plans, the universe cannot pour the new wine of abundance. It will spill. To receive, you must first empty. And emptying hurts. It means admitting, "I don't know how to solve this." Emptying means surrendering. But here is the divine paradox. Only when you surrender do you win. Only when you admit your small self lacks the solution do you give permission to your big self, universal consciousness, to take command and orchestrate the result. History is full of solutions appearing exactly when the struggle stopped. The scientist who finds the formula in a dream after giving up. The musician who receives the melody while walking, not while pounding the piano. The person who finds love only after deciding to be happy alone. Coincidence? No. Fluid mechanics. They stopped pushing against the current, resistance, and allowed the current to carry them, flow. They created a suction vacuum. We will explore the engineering of this non-doing, Wu Wei. This is not laziness or passivity. Passivity is weakness. I do nothing because I can't. Primordial silence is contained power. I do nothing because I trust. It is the difference between a stagnant pond and the tense calm of a bow before firing. You will learn to detect your silence leaks. You will understand that boredom is the threshold of genius. By killing it with cheap dopamine, you abort your best ideas. We will learn radical listening. The universe broadcasts in FM, frequency of miracles, but you are stuck in AM, amplitude of fear. To tune into FM, you have to turn off your own station. You have to stop transmitting demands and start listening to guidance. Intuition does not shout, it whispers. It can only be heard when the background noise dies. Prepare for a counterintuitive journey. Your logical mind will rebel. It will tell you this is a waste of time and you should be productive. Tell your mind to sit in the back seat. Today it doesn't drive. Today silence drives. And silence knows shortcuts that logic cannot even imagine. Chapter 1. The Tyranny of White Noise. If you woke up tomorrow and found that someone had installed a 5,000-watt speaker in your bedroom, blasting static 24 hours a day, you would call the police. You would consider it torture. You would know instinctively that under that bombardment it is impossible to sleep, think, or create. Yet that is exactly what you have done with your mind. And you haven't called the police. You've called Spotify, Netflix, and Instagram to ensure the speaker never turns off. We live under the tyranny of white noise. I am referring to the constant noise of information. Every time you pull out your phone in the elevator, because 15 seconds of inactivity distresses you, you are injecting noise. Every time you need a podcast to sleep or a TV in the background to eat, you are declaring your absolute inability to endure your own presence. We have normalized a psychiatric pathology, the terror of silence. We do it for anesthesia. Silence is a revealer. It acts as a truth serum. When external noise stops, internal noise, your fears, your debts, your sense of inadequacy turns up its volume. That moment in bed just before sleep is the most terrifying moment of the day for modern man, because there in the darkness you meet the real I, not the I projected on social media. We prefer to fill our brains with irrelevant junk rather than leave an empty space. To understand why this noise blocks your ability to manifest, we must enter electroencephalography. Your brain is an electromagnetic transmitter, receiver, operating at different frequencies. Manifestation only occurs when the brain slows down into alpha, $8 x $12 Hz, and theta, $4 x $7 Hz. The subconscious, which controls 95% of your life, only accepts new commands when the brain slows down. In Theta, the door is open. There you can plant the seed of I am wealthy. But the average person lives chronically trapped in high beta, $30 x 50 plus $0 Hz, the state of stress and panic. The brain interprets excess stimuli as a threat. In high beta, the door to the subconscious is sealed shut. You can recite positive affirmations or visualize your new car, but from a state of stress, your commands bounce off the wall. They are like tennis balls thrown at a concrete dam. You shout your desires in the middle of a hurricane, and the hurricane swallows your voice. Perversely, we grow to love our prison. High beta releases adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones make you feel important. The body becomes addicted to its own stress chemicals. If I take you to a cabin in the woods, you won't feel peace on the first day. You will feel withdrawal. Your body will scream for a dose of cortisol. Silence feels like death to a noise addict, because in the silence, the false self, the ego, defined by doing, begins to dissolve. White noise also causes the atrophy of imagination. Imagination is the quantum tool used to collapse probability waves, but imagination needs RAM space. If your mental screen is occupied 24/7 by TikTok, there is no pixel left to project a new vision for your life. We have become passive consumers of others' imaginations, Netflix and influencers. We have lost the ability to generate our own. When you try to visualize your future, you see blackness. Only when you turn off the external screen does the internal screen turn on. In quantum physics, the Pauli exclusion principle states two fermions cannot occupy the same state at the same time. Metaphysically, two things cannot occupy the same space. If your mind is full of noise, fear, control, it cannot be full of God, solution, miracle. The universe is wishing to fill you with million-dollar ideas and vibrant health. The signal is being broadcast right now, but your receiver is saturated. The signal of God reaches your door, sees the house is full of noisy trash to the ceiling, and leaves. You are a victim of your own lack of mental acoustic hygiene. You have allowed the outside world to colonize your inner space. Now that you understand how noise blocks your subconscious, the question is, how do I get out? How do I detoxify from the noise? Leak diagnosis and the decompression protocol. If you accept you are an addict to stimuli, the next step is rehab. You can't just meditate for 20 minutes and expect it to fix 23 hours of chaos. That's like eating junk all day and taking one vitamin. We need a structural change in your relationship with the void. First, we locate the silence leaks. Your day is full of natural dead times, the elevator, the supermarket line, the red light. These are reset windows the life gives you to recalibrate. What do you do with them? You murder them with your smartphone. This is the evasion reflex. Your hand goes to your pocket before your brain registers boredom. By filling these micro voids with cognitive trash, you keep the engine at high RPMs. You arrive at the end of the day with a burnt motor, not from work, but from lack of cooling. For the next 48 hours, your mission is no phone during dead times under 2 minutes. If you are in an elevator, look at the door and breathe. If you are at a red light, look at a tree. At first, you will feel the itch of dopamine withdrawal. Observe that anxiety. It is not real. If you endure that discomfort for 30 seconds, the anxiety will peak and then drop. You will enter a state of flat calm. Suddenly, you might notice a detail you never saw or get the idea you needed to solve a block at work. You've opened a crack in the tyranny of noise. The car is another critical point. Most use it as an extension of the office. Rule: the first 10 minutes of any drive must be in absolute silence. No radio, no music, no calls. Use those minutes to disconnect from where you came and prepare for where you are going. At first, your mind will scream your to-do list. Let it scream. After a few minutes, it will begin to wander. This daydreaming is an alpha theta state. It is the most creative human state. The best ideas in history were had in the shower or driving, not in front of an Excel sheet. If you fill these moments with educational podcasts, you are blocking your own genius. You are consuming others' intelligence instead of producing your own. Finally, we must reclaim the bedroom. Carrying noise to bed is spiritual suicide. A screen at night is a disaster. The moment before sleep is the time of greatest suggestibility, natural hypnotic state. What you put in your mind in those last 15 minutes will marinate in your psyche all night. If you put in junk, you wake up anxious. If you put in silence, you wake up magnetic. Nightly silence protocol. 1. Digital curfew. Electronics off 30 mins before bed. 2. Neural dump. Write your worries on paper to get them out of your head. 3. Sonic darkness. Lie in the dark and listen to the silence. Listen to the faint hum of the universe or your heartbeat. One of the biggest resistances you will find is the social belief that being in silence is boring. We are told the successful person is always connected. That is a lie. That is the description of an efficient slave, not a master creator. The true masters of the universe, great inventors and spiritual leaders, spend enormous amounts of time in solitude. Bill Gates think weeks in a cabin. Einstein spent hours staring out the window. In that apparent boredom is where reality is woven. If you apply this protocol for a week, you will feel you have more time. By stopping the mental race, subjective time expands. You stop living in high beta urgency and enter the timeless flow of alpha. You will make fewer mistakes and better decisions. Chapter 2. Horror Vacui. There is a well-documented phenomenon known as Sunday neurosis. It occurs typically around 6 or 7 p.m., when the weekend has ended and the work week hasn't begun. A temporal rift opens, a no-man's land. In that space, millions feel sudden anxiety or existential emptiness. What is happening? Biologically, you are safe. Psychologically, however, you are facing the greatest threat, the absence of function. During the week, you are the manager or the mother. Your identity is sustained by friction. You define yourself by what you struggle against. When friction ceases, the ego panics. It has no substance of its own. It is like the wake of a boat that exists only while the boat is moving. If the boat stops, the wake vanishes. Horror vacui, fear of the void, is a survival mechanism of the ego to avoid its own annihilation. The ego knows a truth you try to ignore. In absolute silence, the small self dies. If there is no thought and no conflict, who are you? You are not your name or your history. You are a formless presence. For the spirit, this is liberation. But for the ego, this is death. Your mind prefers a serious problem to no problem at all. You'd rather be worried about a debt than sitting in a chair feeling the immensity of nothingness. Pain gives you a narrative. The victim, or the fighter. The void dissolves you, leaving you terrifyingly undefined. Blaise Pascal once wrote, "All of man's misfortunes come from his inability to sit quietly in a room alone." He understood the biophysics of evasion. Wars, addictions, and the compulsive accumulation of wealth are all desperate attempts to flee that empty room. In that room, you find the black mirror. You realize that most things you run after have no intrinsic meaning. The ego whispers that silence is boring to keep you from discovering it is unnecessary. The resistance to silence is the survival instinct of your mental parasite. Imagine a ceiling fan. When off, it is 90% of empty space. When it spins at maximum speed, the blades create the illusion of a solid disk. Your ego is that fan. It is composed of discontinuous thoughts, but it spins so fast that it creates the illusion of a solid identity. Primordial silence is the act of unplugging the fan. As revolutions drop, the solid disk becomes transparent. You begin to see the gaps. This process of deceleration is terrifying because you feel you are undoing. It is the vertigo of existential decompression. The ego lives exclusively in psychological time, past, guilt, or future, fear. It cannot survive in the now. In this precise nanosecond, do you have a problem? No. Narratives require time. Silence anchors you in the now and cuts the ego's time supply line. When you try to be silent, the mind throws temporal hooks, embarrassing memories, or future anxieties to drag you back to its kingdom. Horror vacui is actually horror nunc, fear of the now, because in the now, the mask falls and pure, naked life remains. The ego always chooses pain over nothingness, because pain has texture. To become a master of manifestation, you must be willing to endure the withdrawal of the drama drug. You must sit on the edge of the abyss and look down until you stop feeling dizzy. Crossing the threshold and the statue practice. How do we cross the valley of horror vacui without going crazy? The answer is by boring the ego to death. In our dopamine-addicted society, boredom is seen as a system failure. But in consciousness engineering, boredom is actually a firewall. Boredom is the layer separating the surface mind, beta, from the deep mind, theta. Solutions and miracles are at the bottom of the ocean. To get there, you must cross the dead water zone of boredom. Most people touch this layer and bounce back to their phones. The master knows boredom is just a dopamine hangover. If you stay in it for about 20-30 minutes, the fever breaks. The mind, seeing you won't give it a toy, finally surrenders. Suddenly, you fall through the floor of boredom into the ecstasy of presence. To train this, we use the statue protocol. The ego anchors in movement. To stop the mind, we freeze the body. Sit straight and set a timer for 15 minutes. The rule is sacred. Do not move. Not even micro movements. If your nose itches, do not scratch it. At minute 3, the ego will send false alarms. Unbearable itches or a sudden urge to check the stove. This is the ego generating friction to confirm its existence. Your job is to observe the impulse without obeying. Tell your body, the boss is the consciousness, not the robot. Toward minute 10, the battle reaches its climax. You might feel rage or a desire to cry. This is the purge. If you don't yield, the itch will disappear by minute 14. The body becomes light. The mind goes blank, yet lucid. You have crossed the horror vacui. Experienced meditators call this the pop. It is like a plane emerging above the storm clouds into the stratosphere. In this state, manifestation is instant because there is no resistance. If you drop an intention here, The answer comes as a flash of total certainty. Practicing this teaches you that you are not your thoughts. If you can observe your mind going crazy while you remain still, you are the observer. This dissociation is the key to freedom. You stop being the character in the movie and become the invulnerable screen. The goal is to carry this portable void to the office. When you lose the fear of doing nothing, you become unstoppable. The world threatens to take things away, but if your greatest joy comes from nothingness, the world has no leverage over you. You are finally free. Chapter 3: The Musical Interval. Imagine attending a concert by the world's most prestigious philharmonic orchestra. The hall is perfect, the acoustics impeccable, the conductor signals, and every instrument plays its highest and loudest note at once. They hold it for an hour. You wouldn't call that music, you would call it noise. Even if individual notes are pure, the absence of variation and interruption turns a symphony into an air raid siren. For sound to become music, it needs a secret, non-sonic ingredient: the interval. Mozart famously said, "The music is not in the notes, but in the silence between them." From consciousness engineering, this means the note is raw material, but the silence is the mold. A single note, 440 Hz, means nothing. But if you play it, pause, then play another, that pause creates a relationship. Silence is the glue that turns scattered events into a narrative. The average modern human lives in a wall of sound. From coffee and traffic to emails and gym music, there are no intervals, no space between the stimulus and the response. We live in a suffocating, perpetual legato. We believe productivity means filling every gap. But without space, there is no definition. If you write a sentence without spaces, you lose the meaning. Life is chaos when there are no pauses. Your brain struggles to decode that, generating cognitive fatigue. That is your life, a long sentence without commas or periods. You have volume, but you don't have a melody. In the machine code of reality, the binary system information resides in contrast. 1 is on, pulse; 0 is off, silence. Without 0, 1 has no value. For a computer to transmit an image, it must alternate between being 1 and not being 0. Systems without zeros collapse into entropy. Consumer society tries to eliminate the 0. It sells us infinite scrolling and growth. This violates thermodynamics. We become desensitized and emotionally numb because we are saturated. We desperately need to reclaim the 0 to restore value to our experiences. Your body knows this. The heart works in 2 beats: systole, contraction, and diastole, relaxation. Diastole is the heart's silence, the moment it fills with blood. Neurons also have a refractory period. If forced to fire without it, they die from excitotoxicity. They literally fry. Burnout is simply macroscopic excitotoxicity. It is your nervous system declaring a strike because you violated its refractory periods for years. Depression and chronic fatigue are emergency brakes activated by your biology to impose the silence you refuse to take voluntarily. In design, negative space is not wasted space, it is focus space. It makes content breathe and become elegant. Primordial silence is the negative space of your life. A master life is not crowded with events, but essential moments surrounded by large margins of silence. Observed masters don't run. They have agendas with gaps and speak with pauses. This air gives them an authority the busy man never has. The busy man is a slave to the flow. The man with intervals is the owner of the flow. He decides when the note sounds and when it dies. Your logical mind will argue, if I pause, I'll do less. False. You will do better things. Quality depends on the consciousness behind the action. A decision made from saturation is usually bad. A decision made from silence is surgical. Intervals sharpen your cognitive axe. Interval engineering and vital syncopation. We must start making cuts in your routine to introduce air into your score. The goal is to rhythmize your life using 3 tools: the transition, the threshold, and the syncopation. Tool 1. The airlock, transition management. Our biggest error is residual carryover. You end a stressful meeting and immediately call your partner. You pour that residual stress onto them because you didn't change suits. You passed from one room to another without closing the door. You become a toxic mix of unprocessed emotions. You need an airlock. Protocol End Task A. Stop. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply 3 times. Mentally say, Task A is finished. I cut the link. I am empty. Visualize removing a heavy coat. Now, start Task B. This 60-second micro-silence allows you to enter situations fresh and clean. Tool 2. The sacred threshold, the response pause. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our freedom. Most people have that space closed. Your job is to widen it. Apply the 3-second rule. When asked a question or faced with the unexpected, do not answer immediately. Count 1, 2, 3, silently. In those seconds, your amygdala calms, your smart brain turns on, and your silence imposes authority. Your response will be deliberate and carry weight. Tool 3. Syncopation, breaking the pattern. In music, syncopation is accenting a weak beat unexpectedly. It creates the groove. The universe gets bored with predictable people. To manifest, you must surprise the field with syncopated silences. Break your routine with voids. If you are working frantically, suddenly stop. Walk out and sit on a bench for 10 minutes doing nothing. Your logic will scream, but you are breaking the hamster wheel inertia. You exit the hypnotic loop of doing. Syncopated silence is an act of spiritual guerrilla warfare. The Japanese concept of ma refers to the gap or pause. It is not dead space, but space full of energy that allows things to exist. Ikebana depends on the space between branches. You must become an architect of ma. Schedule blocks of non-doing in your agenda. Defend your non-doing time as fiercely as a meeting with a top investor. During that time, you meet with your source. Finally, return to your breath, the interval built into your hardware. Practice box breathing. Inhale 4s, hold 4s, exhale 4s, hold empty 4s. Those moments of retention are the 0 point. In the empty hold, you are closest to nothingness. If you learn to be comfortable there, you learn to trust life. I trust the air will return. I trust the life will sustain me. This is the foundation of true sovereignty. Chapter 4. Physics of Available Space. There is a famous Zen story about a scholar visiting Master Nanin. The professor spoke endlessly about his own theories. Nanin began serving tea, filling the cup until it overflowed onto the table. The scholar cried, "Stop! It is full." Nanin replied, "Like this cup, you are full of opinions." This is a lesson in metaphysical fluid physics. Two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. If your mental space is occupied by your plan, there is no room for the plan of the universe. The tragedy of modern man is that we are obsessed with the how. When you desire something, your mind enters strategic simulation mode. You calculate hours, loans, and logic based on the past. You fill your cup with strategies and worries. You think you are being responsible, but you are actually committing a fatal error. You are blocking variable X. Infinite intelligence operates outside linear logic. It has shortcuts you cannot see. But for that intelligence to deposit a solution, it needs a landing space. If you have already decided how things must happen, you have occupied the space. You have cemented the garden. If the universe wants to send money via an unexpected idea, it cannot because you only have the salary increase valve open. When that fails, you claim manifestation doesn't work. No, your reception is broken. Your cup is overflowing with your own stubbornness and intellectual arrogance. The intellect is a wonderful tool for tasks, but terrible for designing lives. It is based on past data. It can only reconfigure the old. The intellect hates the void of not knowing. To avoid panic, it invents a false plan. That plan is the plug that stops the real solution. Conscious ignorance is a state of high power. Admitting, "I have no idea how this will happen," is not defeat. It is a valve opening. It removes the plug and tells the universe, "My cup is empty. I am ready for instructions. Surprise me." Resistance falls to zero. We must distinguish between two types of voids. The sterile void, apathy, is a broken bottle. It feels like a victim and contains nothing. The fertile void, expectation, is the womb. It says, I am waiting for instruction. I am available. It is active, warm, and magnetic. This is the state of relaxed alertness. Your mind is like a satellite dish aimed at the sky, waiting for the signal. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you create a mental void by silencing worries, you generate a suction in the ether. You force the universe to fill you. The great miracles of history always occur when the protagonist reaches the end of logical resources and says, I surrender. In that instant, the cup tips over, the void is created, and boom, the miracle occurs. It wasn't the struggle that brought it, but the cessation of struggle. Worry is just cheap filler used to avoid the void. We believe worrying makes us responsible parents or partners. In reality, worry is static noise. It occupies the bandwidth. If your channel has $100 units and you use $90 for worry, you only have $10 left for the solution. The discipline of available space requires the courage to stop worrying before the problem is solved. It is like turning off the engine of a diving plane to restart it. It is terrifying, but it is the only way to recover control and allow infinite intelligence to take the lead. The RAM dump and the sacred I don't know technique. If your computer is slow, you free up RAM. Your mind is a biological computer running for years without a reboot. You have tabs open from 1995, traumas, and pop-ups of future worries. Your processor is at $99%. To manifest wealth.exe, you first need to purge the system garbage. Technique 1. Neural dumping. Writing is the most powerful decompression tool, but don't use it to plan. Use it to empty. Take a pen and paper, set a timer for 10 minutes, vomit everything onto the page without a filter. Fears, logical worries, mean judgments, and repetitive songs. By writing, you transfer data from the RAM, brain, to an external hard drive, paper. You tell your brain, it's noted, it's out, you can let it go. You will feel a physical lightness. You have freed up gigabytes of space. Now, in that clean area, a new idea can enter. Technique 2. The sacred. I don't know, we are conditioned to have answers. I don't know is the most spiritual phrase in the human vocabulary. When facing a block, stop. Take a deep breath and say solemnly, I don't know how to solve this, and that is okay. By declaring ignorance, you deactivate the ego and activate intuition. It is like putting a sign on your door saying, decorator wanted. If you scream, I know how to decorate, the expert won't enter. Practice, I don't know for small things to make life more fluid. The mind is like a parachute. It only works if it opens. But to open it, you must be in free fall. You must jump from the plane of your old plans into the terrifying void. Manifesting requires the leap. For an instant, you are in the air without support. You are pure potential. As within, so without. If you struggle to empty your mind, start by emptying your house. Every object you own occupies a fragment of your attention. Do a physical purge. Clear your shelves. Leave one drawer completely empty. That drawer is an altar to available space. Often, cleaning a closet unlocks a complex mental problem. Physical void invites flow. Feng Shui is environmental psychology. Finally, lose the fear of being blank. You are not a warehouse. You are an access terminal to the cloud. Universal consciousness has all the data. Your brain doesn't need to store everything. It just needs the bandwidth to download solutions when needed. If your hard drive is empty, the download is instantaneous. Walk light, walk empty. When you reach the crossroads, the signal will appear. Trust the download. Chapter 5 Wu Wei. There is an invisible statue in the center of Western culture, the monument to agonizing effort. Since childhood, a false thermodynamic equation has been burned into us. Result, suffering X time. We believe that if something is easy, it is suspicious or unearned. We have fetishized the struggle. The ego feeds on difficulty. It says, look how much I suffer, therefore look how valuable I am. But in consciousness engineering, suffering is not a virtue, it is a sign of inefficiency. If a machine chirps and overheats, it is poorly designed. Friction is simply the loss of energy. Nature does not operate with friction, it operates with flow. The central concept here is Wu Wei, non-action or effortless action. This is not a trap for the lazy. It does not mean lying on the sofa. It means not forcing. It is action aligned with the nature of things. Imagine a mighty river. Ego mode, struggle, is swimming upstream. You exhaust yourself and drown. Apathy mode, negligence, is a dead log drifting aimlessly. Wu Wei mode, mastery, is the expert sailor. You don't fight the river. You use its immense energy to reach your goal. Wu Wei is the art of navigating reality instead of fighting it. The universe has a current. If your desire aligns with it, manifestation is downhill. If it's an ego whim against the current, it is uphill hell. To know where the current goes, you need silence. Chapter 3. Think of soul aerodynamics. A sports car cuts through the wind without resistance. Your fears and shoulds are flat surfaces hitting the wind of life, creating turbulence. Living in Wu Wei is becoming vibrationally streamlined. You do less, but you achieve much more. It's pure physics. By eliminating resistance, the same energy carries you 10 times further. Observe a tree. Does it look like it's straining to grow? No. Nature is. It responds to the moment with the exact action required, not 1 joule more, not 1 less. Humans are the only ones who try to force cycles. Impatience is the greatest violation of Wu Wei. It is the ego telling God, "You're too slow, move over, I'm driving." Every time the ego drives, the car ends up in a ditch. Wu Wei does not mean lack of intention. The Zen archer intends to hit the target, but the shot itself is Wu Wei. If the archer is tense, the arrow vibrates and misses. The perfect shot happens when the archer forgets himself. Tension, ego, blocks precision. Relaxation, being, allows it. Your job is to release the tension of the result. Fire the arrow and trust the wind to do its part. In this paradigm, chronic fatigue is an error indicator. If you come home exhausted, soul-drained, you have been swimming against the current. You've used force, ego, instead of power, spirit. Inspired work regenerates. Forced work degenerates. Use your energy level as a quality audit. From hunter to gardener and the impulse signal. Humanity has operated in hunter mode for millennia, anxious, chasing prey, living on adrenaline. It is inefficient because the prey, money, love, has a flight instinct. The master operates in gardener mode. The gardener prepares the soil and waits. He trusts invisible processes. To apply this, you must distinguish between reaction and response. Reaction ego is automatic and born of trauma. It generates conflict. Response, Wu Wei, is deliberate and neutral. It is born of the present. By increasing the time between stimulus and action, you act with the universe. The impulse signal is your green light. Before any action, check your internal traffic light. Red signal, resistance. You feel heaviness or have to push yourself. Diagnosis, it is not the time. Action, wait. Green signal, impulse. You feel lightness and enthusiasm. The master is a radical follower of this internal light. If it's red, an army won't move him. If it's green, no wall can stop him. Wu Wei always seeks the leverage point. What is the minimum action that produces the maximum result? The ego wants brute force. Wu Wei prefers intelligence. Try the magnetic inversion exercise. Instead of your energy going out to get something, imagine you are an immovable center of gravity and it is coming to you. Feel your stillness attract the object like a magnet. When you stop chasing, you stop emitting the frequency of lack. The biggest obstacle is FOMO, fear of missing out. In a Wu Wei universe, what is for you cannot miss you. If you miss a train, it's because it was going to derail or wasn't your destination. Trust that the universe is benevolent. Why fight your senior partner, infinite intelligence? What do you do in a crisis? Freeze. Moving in quicksand makes you sink faster. In a crisis, your vibration is low, fear. Any action taken from there is cursed. Your first doing must be internal. Calm your breath and wait for the water to settle. Only then take a firm step. Chapter 6: Radical Listening. Imagine driving down a lonely road at night. You are looking for a specific radio station that broadcasts the world's purest music. But your radio is old, and there is a powerful pirate station nearby, broadcasting loud ads and chaotic noise. You are hearing the pirate, not the truth. The true station, the source intuition, transmits on a subtle, constant shortwave frequency. The pirate station, the ego, fear, transmits on a loud, intermittent longwave. The problem is not that the source stopped broadcasting, it never stops, but that your dial is stuck on the pirate. Radical listening is the reverse engineering discipline where we learn to filter out the static to recover the original signal. In telecommunications, there is a critical concept called the signal-to-noise ratio, SNR. If the noise is louder than the signal, communication is lost. The modern mind has a disastrous SNR. We have so much internal noise, doubts, judgments, that the intuition signal is buried. We take decisions based on noise, marrying out of fear of loneliness, or working a job we hate out of fear of poverty. We are obeying hallucinations, not intelligence. To start listening, we must dethrone the false king, the logical mind. We are raised to believe that rational decisions are always correct. Logic is a great tool for processing past data, but it is useless for the unknown because it operates in a closed system of what you already know. Intuition is an open system. It is a quantum connection to the universal information cloud. It has access to data you do not personally possess. It knows which road to take to avoid an accident 10 minutes away. Logic sees the map. Intuition sees the future and the expanded present. The greatest hurdle is confusion. Is this voice my intuition or my fear? Learning to distinguish the vibrational signature of these voices is the master's #1 survival skill. The two voices have radically different textures that you must learn to identify somatically. The ego profile, the voice of fear. Volume high, it shouts and demands attention. Urgency, it's always in a hurry. Decide now. Repetition, it's a loop, repeating the same argument 500 times. Argumentation, it acts like a lawyer giving long, detailed explanations. Emotion, generates anxiety, stomach contraction, or manic euphoria. The intuition profile, the voice of the source. Volume low, it is a whisper. It is calm and does not compete. Timeless, it is immediate but not panicked. Novelty, it rarely repeats itself obsessively. Synthetic, it does not argue, turn left, period. Emotion, generates peace, chest expansion, and a sense of rightness. Sometimes intuition whispers, and the ego immediately screams over it. The ego creates wave interference. Radical listening requires training the ear to catch that first microsecond of truth before the avalanche of justification arrives. That first flash is God speaking to you. Your body is a much more sophisticated antenna than your rational brain. The vagus nerve connects your brain to your heart and intestines. Your gut has more neurons than your spinal cord. It is your second brain, and it is the brain that processes intuition and vibrations. Your body knows the truth before your head. Studies show that the body reacts to a dangerous image milliseconds before the visual cortex even processes it. Your body lives in the immediate future. Radical listening involves dropping attention from the noisy head to the sensitive radar. If your mind says yes, but your stomach contracts and you feel nausea, the answer is no. The body cannot lie or manufacture fictions. If the body closes, it's no. If it expands, it's yes. It is a perfect binary system. In the second part, we will learn how to tune the signal actively. Tuning protocols and the leap of faith. Intuition is not something that just happens to you. It is a muscle that you train. At first, it is weak and confusing. With practice, it becomes an unmistakable baritone voice. To strengthen it, we need reception engineering exercises to clean our internal receiver. Technique 1. Drop and wait. Most people pray poorly, filling the line with their own anxiety. The correct protocol is drop and wait. First, get calm and lower to alpha. Formulate a short question. What is my next step? Throw it into the dark void of your mind like a stone into a well. Be internally silent. Do not try to answer it yourself. Tell your brain, "Not you, I'm waiting for management." Maintain a state of silent expectation. The answer may arrive hours later while washing dishes or the next morning. You've opened the ticket. The answer is on its way. Technique 2. Hypnagogic incubation. Edison and Dahl used this. The moments just before sleep, hypnagogic, and just after waking, hypnopompic, are magic windows where theta waves dominate. The border between you and universal intelligence is almost non-existent here. Before losing consciousness, state your request. Subconscious, show me the solution to X tomorrow. Then let it go. Upon waking, do not move. Stay in that half-asleep state. Observe the images or words on your mental screen. Capture the download in a notebook immediately. Technique 3. The 3-day rule. When you get a radical impulse, wait 72 hours. Emotion is volatile, intuition is constant. If the impulse is gone by day 3, it was a reactive emotion. If it remains with the same serene certainty, it is intuition. Truth resists time, hysteria does not. There will come a moment when radical listening asks you for something that defies logic. It will say, "Do it." Logic will say, "It's impossible." This is the leap of faith. Intuition sees the bridge that hasn't been built yet. In the physics of consciousness, the bridge always appears. If you wait to see the bridge before stepping, that is logic. Not faith, and logic does not create miracles. The universe requires payment in advance, trust, before delivering the goods, the miracle. Even if you misinterpret a signal and crash, it is a part of your calibration process. You cannot ruin your destiny if your intention is honest. The only real error is paralysis by analysis. As you practice, you will become more sensitive. Loud noises and lies will bother you more. Don't be afraid. You are becoming finely tuned. You are a high-tech radar now. Chapter 7. Dark Incubation. We live in a solar culture. We worship the visible, the bright, and what can be measured or posted on Instagram. We have developed a collective pathology that says, if it's not seen, it doesn't exist. But this obsession is a flagrant violation of the biological laws of creation. In nature, absolutely nothing is born into the light. Everything that has life and potential begins its existence in absolute darkness. A baby gestates in the dark womb. If you bring it to the light early to see how it's going, you kill it or cause irreparable damage. A seed germinates underground in the cold, damp dark. If you dig it up every morning to check for roots, you interrupt the chemical process and the seed dries up. Analog photographs are revealed in a darkroom. If you turn on the light mid-process, the photo is ruined forever. However, in our lives we refuse to respect the darkroom. We want instant success. We start a project on Monday and are depressed by Wednesday because we aren't millionaires. We cannot stand the latency phase, the period between the cause, sowing, and the effect, visible harvest. Dark incubation is where 90% of the real work happens. Visible manifestation is only the final 10%, the tip of the iceberg. If you don't learn to inhabit and protect your periods of darkness, you will abort your dreams before they have the structural strength to survive the light. The Japanese bamboo is the perfect example of biological patience engineering. When a farmer plants it, he waters it carefully. For 4 years, nothing happens. No green shoots, just barren earth. An impatient person would think the seed is dead and give up on the ground. But in the 5th year, a miracle occurs. In just 6 weeks, the bamboo grows 30 meters high. It grows almost a meter a day. Did it grow 30 meters in 6 weeks? No. It grew 30 meters in 5 years and 6 weeks. For 5 years, it was building a massive underground root system. Nature forced it to grow downward in the darkness before allowing it to grow upward into the light. Without those roots, the first wind would have toppled it. You might be in a root phase right now, interpreting it as failure. Your ego is an ignorant farmer wanting to dig up the seed. Relabel this phase. You aren't stuck, you are incubating. You aren't depressed, you are in deep rest. Sometimes depression is a defense mechanism. Your system lowers the shutters because it needs mass internal restructuring that requires all your available energy. If you tried to be productive while your soul is under construction, you would collapse. So your libido and ambition fade to force you inward. Yield to the winter. The caterpillar dissolves into a soup before becoming a butterfly. You are in the soup phase. It is necessary. Affirmations and visualizations are like photons hitting the film of reality. The change has already occurred in the quantum field, but it needs time submerged in the chemical of time and matter to become visible. This is a time of chemical faith. You know it's working. The biggest mistake is doubt. Doubt is destructive light. It is radiation that burns the sensitive film of manifestation. Darkness is protection. The womb is dark to protect the fetus. Your new self needs darkness to stay safe from the opinions of others and your own doubt. The law of secrecy and cave behavior. The golden rule of dark incubation is the law of secrecy. Energy accumulates in containment and dissipates in exposure. You have a brilliant idea and feel an internal euphoria. Immediately, you run to tell your friend or post it on social media. You receive likes and feel great. But the next day, the energy is gone. You've suffered energetic premature ejaculation. That psychic energy was fuel meant to move the pistons of action. By speaking, you opened the escape valve. Your brain interpreted social validation as if the act were already done. It registered mission accomplished and cut the motivational dopamine. You killed the baby before it was born by showing it to the neighbors while it was still an embryo. The master practices hermetic silence. When an idea is gestating, he becomes as silent as a tomb. He protects the seed with paranoid ferocity. He knows newborn ideas are fragile. One skeptical look from a cynical friend can abort the project. During incubation, your project must be a secret between you and the source. No one else must know. Contain the pressure. If a volcano had constant gas leaks, it would never erupt. Plug the leaks. Let the pressure rise until the only exit is massive physical manifestation. The hardest moment is the midpoint. The initial enthusiasm is gone, and the result is not yet visible. You are in the tunnel. This is the valley of death, where 95% of people give up. To survive, stop looking for external signals, money, praise, and look for internal signals. Do you feel different? Is your perception changing? These are signs that your internal structure is shifting. Correspondence law is absolute. If your inner world changes, your outer world must change. But there is a delay. Matter is dense. The universe asks, do you believe in what you don't see? Adults hold the vision in the absence of proof. That qualifies you for power. Incubating is active waiting. Like a pregnant woman, your action is indirect and supportive. If you are manifesting a partner, your active waiting is healing past wounds and making space in your closet. You act as if the arrival is inevitable. Certainty attracts, doubt repels. Sometimes incubation feels like a dark night of the soul. You lose friends, jobs, or identity. This is controlled demolition. To build a skyscraper where a shack stood, you must first demolish the shack. It looks like a disaster, but the ground is being cleared for deep foundations. If your life is falling apart while you do spiritual work, congratulations. It's working. The universe is taking out the trash and removing everything that doesn't resonate with your new frequency. Let it fall. The faster the old falls, the sooner you can pour the new concrete. No night is eternal. It is physically impossible for a cause, your vibration, not to have an effect. If you have respected the silence and protected the seed, the shoot will emerge, and it will be larger and more beautiful than your limited logical mind could have ever planned. One day you will look back at these months of darkness and say, "Thank you. Thank you for hiding me and forcing me to grow roots. Without that darkness, I could never hold this much light today." The dawn is inevitable. Chapter 8. The Eye of the Hurricane. There is a romantic fantasy that intoxicates the modern spiritual seeker, the escape to the mountain. You tell yourself, if I didn't have this job, or if I could go to Bali for 6 months, then I would have peace. This is a deadly trap. It assumes silence is an environmental condition. If your peace depends on the world being quiet, you are a slave to the world. I have met meditators who lived in ashrams for years looking like saints, but they return to the city, hit a traffic jam, and snap in 5 minutes. Their peace was greenhouse silence. It died in the real wind. You don't want to be a greenhouse orchid. You want to be an oak on a cliff. You need all-terrain silence. To achieve this, we must understand the physics of the eye of the hurricane. A hurricane is violent, but its exact geometric center is a zone of absolute, sunny calm. Why? Because for violence to rotate, it needs a motionless axis. The stability of the center allows the movement of the periphery. Dynamic silence is the ability to maintain that internal 0 point, while your body and surface mind move at maximum speed in the chaos of life. This is achieved through the gyroscope principle. A gyroscope maintains its orientation no matter how you push its base. Its stability comes from the speed of its internal spin. To be immovable, your internal silence must be more intense than the external noise. To inhabit the eye, you must master bilocation of consciousness. Most people are 100% identified with the movie of their life. If it's a drama, they are the drama. The master lives in a state of subtle unfolding, the character, avatar, and the witness, the I. The character deals with the rain and bills. The witness is your pure consciousness, formless, nameless, and unaffected. Dynamic silence means anchoring your identity in the witness while letting the character play its role. You aren't the one afraid. You are the space where fear dissolves. Think of it like an immersive video game. You can be in a frantic battle killing dragons with a racing heart, but a part of you knows you are safe on the couch holding the controller. If you believe the dragon is real, you panic. If you remain the player, you enjoy the intensity safely. The modern world is a giant centrifuge designed to pull your attention to the periphery. Look at this, buy this. If you lack an equivalent centripetal force, you will be crushed against the walls. Primordial silence is your gravity. It keeps you on your axis. There is a powerful effect of being in the eye. In any chaotic system, the most stable element becomes the strange attractor. The system tends to organize around the point of stability. Without saying a word, people will look to you. Chaos orders itself around your stillness. The leader is not the one who runs the most. The leader is the one who is most still. In stillness lies the control of perception. You must learn to wear the cave while in the marketplace. In the next part, we will learn how to divide attention to stay in and out at once. The background anchor protocol and the 20/80 rule. Attention is a finite but divisible resource. The error most people make is giving 100% of their RAM to the external event. When your attention is fully outside, no one is monitoring the internal state. The reactive ego takes the helm. We need to hack our own attention. The 20/80 rule, the presence dividend. Never under any circumstance give 100% of your attention away. The operative golden ratio is 80% of attention outward, the task, the person, the driving. 20% of attention inward, your body, breath, the I am. This $20% is the background anchor. It is the safety tether keeping the astronaut connected to the ship. Technique 1, the somatic anchor. The mind is volatile. The body is dense and slow. The body is always in the present. It is the best anchor for the eye of the hurricane. When under pressure, use your $20% reserve to feel 2 points: the soles of your feet, gravity and lead roots, and the center of your belly, breath. Having attention in your feet pulls energy out of the noisy head. You become physically stable and your voice deepens. Technique 2, the defocused gaze. Stress activates tunnel vision, which is neurologically linked to the fight-flight system. To activate the eye, switch to peripheral vision. Soften your eyes. Try to see the walls and ceiling without moving your eyeballs. Opening your visual field sends a safety signal to the old brain. No tiger is jumping. You activate the parasympathetic system and enter an alpha state with eyes open. You are the all-seeing eye, not the victim who only sees the danger. Your mental noise drops instantly. Technique 3, the Teflon screen. In the eye, you see debris passing, insults, thoughts, but you don't grab them. Most people have Velcro minds, negative thoughts stick and start spinning. Dynamic silence requires a Teflon mind. The thought arrives, but it slips away. Maintain your 20% dollars on your breath and let the impulse pass. You become a ghost to the drama. It tries to hit you, but it passes through mist. To keep this up, program micro resets. Stop for 10 seconds every hour, exhale fully, and feel your feet. Recalibrate the gyroscope. Only from the eye can you truly help those in the storm. If you jump into the water in a panic to save someone drowning, you both drown. If you stay firm on the boat, you can throw a lifeline. Your stability is your greatest act of love. You act as a tuning fork for peace. In negotiation, the one who needs to speak loses. When you are in the eye, you are in no rush to fill the void. Make a proposal and be silent. The other person will feel the pressure of the silence and begin to justify or concede. Your silence absorbs their resistance. Chapter 9. Active Surrender. We are obsessed with the driver narrative, the stoic hero gripping the wheel with white knuckles, forcing life to go exactly where he wants. We call this willpower. But from consciousness engineering, this is mechanical inefficiency. It is like a child turning a toy steering wheel. Our obsession with control is that plastic wheel. It exhausts us and makes us feel responsible for every bump, but it doesn't affect the trajectory as much as we think. In fact, it often hinders it. This brings us to the law of reversed effort, or the law of inversion. This law states a physical truth. When you try to stay on the water's surface, you sink. But when you try to sink, you float. Conscious pursuit often blocks the goal. Insomnia is the best example. The more you try to sleep, the more awake you stay. Sleep is surrender, not will. In seduction, the more you try to be charming, the more needy you appear. Charm arises when you stop trying to impress. In memory, the more you force a name, the more it hides. Effort is a signal of resistance. Effort implies friction, a belief that the result is difficult. The universe is a faithful mirror. If you strive for wealth while vibrating in, "It is hard to make money," the universe says, "Granted, it shall be difficult." We must distinguish between resignation and active surrender. Resignation is a low-frequency collapse into victimhood. Active surrender is high-frequency trust. It is saying, "I have done my part. Now I step out of the way so universal intelligence can work." It feels like a deep exhale, like dropping a 50-kilo backpack. The door opens wide because resistance drops to zero. Think of a Chinese finger trap. If you pull outward, struggle. The tube tightens. The only way out is to push inward, surrender. By relaxing into the reality of the situation, the tension disappears and the solution appears. We often try to be cosmic micromanagers. We tell the universe what we want, but then add a list of hows and whens. We try to tell infinite intelligence how to do its job. It's like hiring the world's best architect and then grabbing his pencil to correct his lines. Our lives are crooked shacks because we won't let the architect work. Imagine a self-driving car. If you grab the wheel, you interfere with the superior algorithm. If you recline and let go, the car flows smoothly. You gain control of the journey by renouncing control of the vehicle. You must trust the cosmic GPS, which recalculates in real time. Soltar is hard because the ego thinks it will die without control. The ego craves the credit. "I did this." Surrender is extreme humility. It's admitting you are not the general manager of the universe. But in that vulnerability lies invincibility. You are no longer the one who can fail. The transfer protocol and the miracle of zero impedance. Surrender is an internal muscular action. It is using your strength to stop your force. To execute this, we use Technique 1, the golden box ritual. Your conscious mind is for linear tasks, not complex ones. When it overheats with worry, you must delegate to a higher department. Define the problem clearly. Visualize it as a heavy, dark object. Feel its weight. Now visualize a golden box. Place the problem inside and hear the click as it shuts. Say, "I hand this over to infinite intelligence. You have the solution. I release the how." Done. From that moment, you are forbidden to worry. If the thought returns, tell your mind, that file is no longer on my desk. Management has it. If you can leave the problem in the box for 48 hours without touching it mentally, the solution will appear. You have cleared the path. Technique 2, the alignment question. When we drive from fear, we ask, what do I do to not fail? To change drivers, ask, if I fully trusted that the universe sustains me, what would I do right now? Or, what would love do? The answer of trust always feels like expansion. The answer of fear feels like contraction. Active surrender is the courage to obey the voice of trust, even when fear screams you are crazy. Surrender has a physical marker, dropped shoulders, a deep exhale from the feet, and a feeling of joyful indifference. I don't care isn't apathy, it is detachment. It is the exact second you stop clutching the throat of reality. Paradoxically, that is when the phone rings. You have eliminated the brake. Desire plus fear. Brake, desire plus surrender. Maximum acceleration. Beware of the time buffer. Sometimes you let go of the wheel, but the car keeps heading for the cliff due to physical inertia. Don't panic. Don't grab the wheel back. Wait. The car will turn. Real surrender is unconditional. I prefer to crash in peace than drive in hell. Your final goal is to change your identity from the stressed driver to the VIP passenger. The universe is a luxury limousine. There is an expert chauffeur at the wheel. Your job is to say where you want to go, intention, and then enjoy the view and trust the driver. Elite athletes and musicians call this flow. In the zone there is no I. The ego has stepped out, and skill flows without obstruction. Your life can be jazz, your business can be a dance. But for that, you must stop directing the steps and let the music move you. Chapter 10, Becoming the Space. You have reached the end of the road. We have cleared the noise, emptied the cup, and learned to listen to the hidden signal. But those practices still assumed a duality, a you practicing silence to get something. Now we must dissolve that last illusion and correct the primary identity error. Imagine you are at the cinema. You get so caught up in the action that you forget where you are. You cry, you sweat, and your heart races. You believe the movie is reality. But behind the drama, there is something that makes the experience possible but is never affected by it. The white screen. The screen was there before the movie, stays during the fire and the floods, and remains when the lights go up. If there is a fire in the movie, does the screen burn? No. If there is a flood, does it get wet? No. The screen holds the drama, allows the drama, but is not the drama. The screen is untouchable. It is immaculate. You have spent your life believing you are the movie. You believe you are your name, your debts, and your Rodney Payne. That is the content, and content is unstable and fleeting. You are not the content. You are the context. You are the spacious consciousness in which thoughts and emotions appear. You are the screen. Nothing that has happened in your life has actually damaged you. Your traumas were scenes projected upon you, but the presence that observed them remains virgin and intact. This discovery is an ontological fact. What you truly are cannot be threatened. Think of the sky. The sky is infinite space. The clouds are thoughts. Sometimes black storm clouds cover everything, and the small self says, the sky is broken. But above the clouds, the blue is always there. Becoming the space means you stop identifying with the weather. Instead of I am sad, you say, I am the vast space where an event called sadness is occurring. This shift is nuclear. When you say I am sad, you densify. When you say there is sadness in me, you expand. Because the sky offers no resistance to the cloud passes quickly. Chronic depression is often the result of identifying so much with a cloud that we trap it. By becoming space, you become a fast-flow conduit. Emotions are felt intensely, and then they leave you clean. In martial arts, the goal is to be empty like air. You can break a rock, but who can break the air? If life hits you with a crisis and you are a solid identity, it destroys you. But if you are space, the blow passes through nothingness. Your essential being remains vast and still. This is true resilience. It is not getting up bruised, It is becoming transparent so the blow finds no target. This is zero frequency, zero resistance, zero friction. When you reach this, you are free. Fear needs you to have something to lose. Space has nothing to lose. Identity is not labels. You are not smart or a mother, those are adjectives. You are the I am without a predicate. That witness looking through your eyes is identical in a child and an old man. It is timeless. When you rest there, you no longer need external validation. Why would the ocean need a glass of water? When need dissolves, attraction becomes infinite. You are not the character, you are the electricity running the console. In the final part, we will see how being nothing attracts everything and how to walk as a walking sanctuary. Living in zero frequency, an inevitable manifestation. We have dismantled the character, now only presence remains. How does a human being who identifies as space operate in the material world? They operate with supernatural efficacy. By removing the ego, you remove noise, doubt, and paralysis. You become pure function. The transparent body, pain management. Living as space changes your relationship with pain. Before you contracted around it. Now you expand. Imagine your body as a fishing net with large holes. Pain is a current of water passing through. You offer no resistance. By removing resistance, pain doesn't stagnate. It flows. You discover that pure sensation is bearable. It was your mental resistance, stop this, that was unbearable. Pain becomes just an intense vibration that crosses you and leaves. You have become a clean channel. The mirror of nothingness healing relationships. When you are space, you become the world's best listener. Most people listen through their own traumas. When you are empty, you receive the other without filters. Your pure attention is the most healing gift a human can receive. People will want to be near you because they feel free in your presence. As a clean mirror, you allow them to see themselves clearly. Your void lets them rest from their own noise. You become an atmospheric purifier. You do good simply by breathing in a room. Manifestation as a side effect. In this level, you no longer try to manifest. It becomes a suction vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you are truly empty of need and control, the source rushes in to fill you. Money and love flow because there is no friction to stop them. The supreme paradox. To have everything, you must be willing to be nothing. The small self wants things to feel big. Space is already infinite. It needs nothing. And because of that, things flock to it like iron to a magnet. You have everything because you need nothing. You enjoy material things more than ever because you have no fear of loss. If money leaves, you are still the space. You play with life. It becomes a light game, not a survival test. This is the death of death. The ego fears the end, but the space sees it as a trivial event. If a light bulb breaks, does the electricity break? No. It returns to the grid. You are the electricity. When you know this cellularly, you lose the fear of death, and thus, the fear of life. You dare to love without measure and tell the truth. They can only break the bulb, not you. Your life is now an artwork dedicated to silence. You don't need to preach. Your presence is the teaching. People will feel an anomaly in the matrix when they see someone who isn't running and isn't afraid. By waking up, you wake others up through resonance. We don't save the world by fighting darkness, but by turning on our light the silence of non-resistance. You have mastered the physics of the soul. Walk now in the world, not as a seeker, but as the space that holds the stars. Conclusion, the great exhalation and the return to origin. You have traversed the horror vacui. You have looked the abyss of boredom in the face and discovered it was not empty but filled with an electric presence. You have learned to empty your cup and navigate with the sail of Wu Wei instead of the ego's oars. You have tuned into the master station and discovered that guidance was always there, buried under the static of your own anxiety. Now, you face the ultimate test, to trust the void, even when the world screams at you to fill yourself up and keep running. The engineering of superconductivity. For decades you lived as a high-resistance conductor. Fear, doubt, and control generated friction in your wires. You lived stressed, losing $90% of your energy as useless heat, worry, before it could become light. This book has been a process of cooling down. By quieting the mind and dissolving the ego, you have lowered the system's temperature. You have become a superconductor. In physics, a superconductor allows electricity to flow without resistance. Infinite current, zero loss. From today, your life follows this new physics. When an electrical impulse of intention arises, it no longer meets the resistance of I can't. The signal travels pure and instantaneous. The quantum field's response returns with the same speed. Manifestation is no longer a miracle, but a mechanical consequence. The death of the seeker. The seeker in you has died because it has found. It has not found an object, but itself as the space. Space cannot search for anything because it already contains everything. How can the ocean seek water? By being the context of life, the neurotic need to arrive vanishes. You are already here. Life is no longer a journey toward a future destination, but a dance in the eternal present. You work for the pleasure of creating. You love for the pleasure of overflowing. The final paradox: only when you stop trying to arrive, do you arrive. The secret agent of silence. Your mission is to infiltrate. You will return to your noisy city as a secret agent of silence. People will see you work and speak, but they will notice something rare in your eyes. They will see that you don't blink with fear, and that your presence calms the room. You are a node of order in a world of chaos. Your mere existence in primordial silence is healing your lineage and your community. You don't need to preach. Your vibration does the work. By being an empty space, you give others permission to be themselves. The great exhalation. Society teaches us to live in an eternal inhalation. I want more, I buy more. It is a constant tension. Primordial silence is the great exhalation. It is the act of letting go and staying in the empty lung, trusting that the next breath will come on its own. Living while exhaling means living while surrendering. You deliver your fears to the golden box and your control to the Tao. You live light and aerodynamic. Life passes through you without harming you. You are a river, not a pond. Nothing rots. Everything flows. The promise of infinite intelligence. There is an intelligence that moves galaxies and makes your heart beat. It wants to express itself through you and build empires through your hands. It only asks you to get out of the way. Quiet your fear, your doubt, and your neurotic control. Let it drive. If you make this pact of active surrender, I promise your life will become something your logical mind could never have planned. It will become a constant miracle because you have become the finely tuned instrument of the only musician that exists.